Today on Muddy Beards 4x4, we're going to be building some 1-ton steering for the trail plug. Hey everyone, it is Robbie here with Muddy Beards 4x4, and for today's project I'm going to be building a do-it-yourself steering kit from Barnes 4-wheel drive. Now these kits from Barnes 4-wheel drive come with everything that you're going to need, a bunch of high quality parts to build your own custom steering system for whatever application you are working on. So besides all the builder components, which I will go over in a second here, they also come provided with the material itself. So this kit comes with two sections, 54 inches long, so it should be plenty long for a custom drag link and a custom tie rod end. And this is 1.5 inch diameter by quarter wall DOM tubing. So these steering kits are designed to be super strong, in fact probably darn near indestructible. So with this DOM tubing, I know I'm going to have myself a very strong steering kit. So let's take a look at all the components that come with this kit next. Now, as far as the components goes, Barnes actually sells a couple different types of DIY steering kits. You know, you have your Heim joints, you have your crossover kits, and you have your Y-Link kits. I went with a crossover kit because I have the WJ knuckle swap on my XJ. And normally I'm actually a really big fan of Heims, and they have some pretty sweet Heim kits, but I actually decided to go with the GM 1-ton, tie rod end, traditional ball joint style end joints here for my steering kit, because I mean, look how big these things are. These are beefy, and this kit comes with all four, so you have a left-hand thread and right-hand thread for both the tie rod and the drag link. But also, the reason why I was curious about these is these offset ones. So what's nice about these is it's going to give me, that little bit of clearance. Because they're offset, when it goes into the knuckle, obviously it's going to push your steering components forward just a little bit, and will hopefully allow me to be able to run, a straight steering. So my tie rod should be able to be straight, and with this offset, hopefully you'll be able to clear things like, you might have problems with the track bar mounts, or maybe you have sway bar links or something in the way. These offset tie rod ends hopefully will push it out so that I don't have to put any bend in my steering, and will give me all the clearance that I need. This kit also comes with all the weld-in bungs, and what's nice is they have this hex head on them. So if you want to adjust your steering, all you got to be able to do is put a crescent wrench on here, and so that just goes right inside the tubing that they give you. And each one of these comes with, of course, a new cotter pin and also a zert fitting, because they are all greasable and serviceable. So pretty sweet. Now that I got all these things laid out here, what I need to do is start tearing apart my Jeep and getting rid of this old steering system. Alright, with my old steering off, I just wanted to do a quick comparison of the ball joint size. So here is, actually these are factory WJ tie rod ends, which are actually considerably beefier than like a stock TJ or XJ. But this is the GM 1-ton tie rod kit from Barnes here, and you can see that it is just significantly bigger and beefier, so I know this is going to be a heck of an upgrade. But now that my stock steering is off, what I need to do is, in order to get these GM 1-ton tie rods to fit inside my knuckle, I'm going to need to use one of these. This is actually a little insert. That's what I opted to use. They are already built with the taper to accept the GM 1-ton tie rod end. So I need to drill these out to a 7/8 hole. Then I can pop these in. Your other option is to use an actual reamer and ream it out to that proper degree. But I'm opting to go with these insert that I also got from Barnes 4-wheel drive. Now, and I also have to take off the pitman arm, which is always a lot of fun. So I'm also going to take that out and drill it out as well. So I got a bit of drilling to do. I got to do all 3 steering arms on the knuckle and then the pitman arm. Well, all right, I got the knuckles all drilled out, and I went ahead and put in the little tapered inserts. I think I will tack weld those in eventually, but for now, everything's just in here kind of hand tight. I got my pitman arm reinstalled and got that thing drilled out, and again, the insert put in and the pitman arm reinstalled. And now I put my rod ends in, and I have put on or screwed on the tube inserts about halfway up the shank of the rod end. And so now I'm basically ready to start building my steering, but there's a couple things that I have to do first before I can actually measure and cut the tube. Okay, well, the first thing I want to take a look at is clearance. Now, one of the reasons why I went with these offset tie rod ends is it pushes, you know, the whole steering a little bit forward, because when you go over the knuckle, there's a lot more things that you could hit, potentially interfere when you turn your steering. And so a couple things I want to look at is, do I have enough clearance to clear the diff cover? Another thing a lot of people might have problems with that I no longer have is that, you know, this is where the sway bar mounts are. I actually cut those off a while ago for this very reason. I was having clearance issues, and since this is an off-road rig pretty much exclusively, I don't really use or have a need for the sway bar. But if we take a look here, I mean, this is why the offset tie rod ends are so cool, is you can see how much push forward it is. And even as you turn the knuckle, you know, as the tie rod spins or rotates with the knuckle, I think what it appears to be plenty of clearance. All right, well, the next thing I want to do is check my alignment. When I go to actually measure this out and cut out the tube, I want my alignment to be as straight as possible, so that even though I have adjustment here in my rod ends, I know that my alignment's going to start off on a good, you know, starting point to make sure that this thing is going to drive straight down the road. And so for that, here's a trick I've seen on the internet, used many times. It's pretty simple. It's not like completely accurate, but it'll get you darn close, so you can actually go and take it to get a real alignment once you've actually built your steering. And for that, all I did is I just clamped a couple pieces of metal to my brake caliper here, a couple pieces of, you know, with a flat edge, and I'm just going to measure the front, the distance between the 2 pieces of metal here in the front. 57.5 inches in the front. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to measure here on the reverse side and see what my number is. Now, if my numbers are the same, it means I have good alignment. About 57.5 inches. So let's double check the front again. Check it out, 57.5 inches. That's pretty straight. Now I should be able to measure the distance between my tube inserts here and actually cut out my tube and start building this steering. All right, well, I got both tubes cut to length. I like to grind the edges here where I'm going to make my welds to the tube inserts, and I like to put like a nice little bevel right there, so that way there's a good, you know, valley for the weld pool. And just for some extra assurance, I also like to drill a hole here so that I can do a plug weld onto the tube insert as well. So now what I need to do is I need to get these tubes onto the Jeep and get them test fitted. I can tack them into place, then I should be able to remove the whole thing, bring it up on the bench, and burn them in for real. Well, that about wraps up my Barnes 4-wheel drive 1-ton crossover do-it-yourself steering kit, and I have to say this thing looks awesome. You know, that is 1/4-inch DOM tubing, those massive 1-ton tie rod ends. You know, this thing is just beefy, and it should be able to hold up to all the abuse that I'm going to be able to put this thing through when I'm off-roading. And you know, another thing I really liked about this kit was those offset tie rod ends. Those made it awesome for being able to easily clear all the components in the front of the axle. It just pushed the steering forward just enough, didn't have to put any bends in the steering, and it clears the diff cover, it clears the track bar bracket, and all those things just perfectly. And even some of the little things like the hex head on the tube inserts, it just makes it to where it's a lot easier to tighten down that jam nut. And they're all features that I really liked about this kit, besides the fact that it is just beefy. So I am really happy with the way this kit turned out. If you would like to get yourself one of these kits, go check out barnes4wheeldrive.com. I will leave a link in the description below. They have a website full of all kinds of awesome DIY fabricator parts, builder parts, all those sorts of things. I've had a lot of luck with their stuff, and I've used a lot of their products on my Jeep. Now, if you liked the video, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe, and even go check out our website in the link below. And as always, I will see you on the trail.